Hi everyone, this is a drafting analysis for the Robe Anglaise or Robe Francaise dress. I found a few different versions I wanted to share with you. Some are really straightforward and work exactly like a drafting tutorial. Some are a bit more complicated, so I wanted to have a look at how you can adapt the same drafting method for different styles. I hope you enjoyed. Let's have a look at some different Robe Anglaise or Francaise inspired styles. This is when we started, and I call the Robe Anglaise, but it could be also Robe Francaise. There's a bit different how it look like, but the construction is similar. And if you're a purist, you're probably going to be really angry with me. But let's just call it a gavet. People also call it a sack back, which I don't find very flattering. But this is of historical style that you can see. It's very fitted. But what I want to do today is just draw out the different options. So we've drafted this already, and that's this is a really basic one. It's really nice. It's got quite a nice fitted yoke. And there's quite a few, if you Google the pattern number, there's quite a few online who've made it. Gertie has made it and some other people. And what's quite interesting on here, on the pattern, I drafted it so the yoke goes right to the edge of your shoulders. Online I've seen some where it looks, it's actually more, it goes off your shoulder. So it goes more like this, which will be more like a dropped shoulder, which changes the construction a bit. So you treat the yoke more like the top of a gusset sleeve model or dolman sleeve, but the rest of the construction is exactly the same. I wanted to show you a few variations. There is actually this one. This is actually exactly the same construction, but it's a different pattern number for some reason. Then by Polynesian patterns, we also had this, which is exact the same construction with the pleat again, but this time they've just put it on a crew neck with little fitted sleeves or no sleeves, and then they've just changed the darting and they've added a side seam. So can you see this one has just the dart, this one has a side seam, so it's got little darts here, and then it's actually got two lots of darts here. So this is actually really fitted again, and then the back is exactly the same. It's just got a slight. They all seem to have slightly lower backs than front necks, which probably got to do with if you do your so it's the back, which is a bit confusing because it's lower. If you do your neck to hide the back, you know how the back of your head, if this is your hair, it sort of curves out a bit, and then you got your shoulder blades there. So I think if you have a really high neck, the back won't work as well. So if you make it slightly lower, then it will sit straighter, which I think is why they've done it like that. So on there again, the back is exactly the same as always, and then the front, of course, is like that. And then you got the pleat. And then it's held in. And I think a lot of people say it closes like a bra strap. I've seen on some of the really old pattern, it says it's got this is the original pattern, and that has got a back hook. So that in that case, the back hook would be right at the center here, and you would probably just have to, when you're putting it on, you have to lift the extra pleat up and then hook it together. And I think that work alright, but I would worry a bit that you would have to reinforce that patch, and you might even actually, your pleat inside, you might actually sort of stitch it closed where you put in your hook, or edge stitch. And I think what you could do is edge stitch the whole inside of the pleat. So it's like just like a mill or two to the edge. So you just stitch it so it stays with shape. And then what I would do where the hook and eye is, I would add a little patch. So if that's the edge of your fabric, as a pleat, I would stitch it so it stays exactly the shape, and then I might even put a little sort of patch on it, and then put your hook and eye, or you could do a button and a loop. But just so it doesn't, if you would just if you just had the edge of your fabric and you put a hook on, it would rip so quickly. So you want to reinforce it, or go from the actually put a proper bra strap from your back shaping, which you can easily do as well. And I've discussed it in the drafting tutorial. Let's go off a bit more. There's one more which again I think is they seem to have interestingly done the same pattern with different illustrations over the last year. Let's look at two which are really different. One is from the 1960s, which I really like, because it's quite different. 1971, sorry, not 60s. And it's one of those Fabiani, which is now, I think they must have sold their name, because now we see it around, but it's not sort of couture. But they've done it really high necked with some nice little details. Then they've got like an empire top, and I think it looks like they just got tiny darts there. And then the whole front is floor length. It looks like here, can you see, this one got a chiffon overdress over a slip, which is much more fitted, and probably just has slits at the side, the slip. And then the body is lined as well with slip material. And then it's got see-through sleeves again, so really elegant. And this one is just made of a satin, so that would be a beautifully sculptural wedding dress. And I think I've added more gathers here than they have there. So you can change the amount of gathering. So if you worked in a chiffon, you would have a slit, a slip with a little slit. So you could have slits on both sides actually. But that would make it, if you have the bodice fully lined, it gets too bulky there. So you always have the bodice either the facing the lining underneath. You either have it straight, just skimming with slits, or you can have it slightly A-line as well with darts. So that's the front. They both work the same. They both have just normal, quite nice fitted sleeves, but you could do without sleeves of course. And the sleeves are nice. Can you see they're actually shaped? And then they got some sort of braid, so the same sort of detail you got at the neckline is at the back as well. And then I actually seen the back somewhere else. The back is, they've done the same sort of detailing, but so it's like this. That's your sleeves. So it's, and we know it then goes in like that, and then it goes like that, and then it goes back to your front. I'm going to draw the back front in, and the front is like this. I imagine this has got a side seam. I will tell you in a second why. So the front looks like this, and it's got the fitted bodice, and the back actually has, interesting enough, a row of buttons here. So sorry, where you get the seam here, they done it a button stand at the top, so you can get in and out of it, and then it's got the same amount of volume. And then what I would imagine is, rather here it's all cut out of one piece. I'm actually going to draw on it. This is more, so you got your fitted empire line top, and then it goes round. Let me get a Sharpie pen so you can see it properly. So that's even worse. Sorry, it's not going very well. Let's try one more. Yeah. So this is our empire line top, and then it goes round, and this of course is all gathered and lovely at the bottom, and then I think at the back the empire goes all the way, if you can see it, so the empire goes all the way across, and then it's got a button stand here, and I think that way you just catch your top bodice into your button stand at the back. So that will be your fitting, and then the whole back is loose and big, and that sort of beautiful draped shape in the front, it has just a fitted bodice. So rather than being a dress shape, they've actually done it at the front, a separate bodice and a long skirt, and then basically the skirt at the front extends up. So the skirt at the front, if that's your center front, will look like this, and it will be gathered. And then at the back it will actually then, so that's your side seam when you put in your back bodice, which pleats on, and then it will actually, where the button stands at the back, it will then become suddenly much bigger, and then you've got your fold lines, and then it will move like neckline, shoulder, armhole, shoulder, neckline. So it's a slightly different construction, but I quite like it. So slightly more complicated, but you get the same look, but with a more fitted front. I hope that makes sense what I say. It's sort of, I think this sort of pattern is quite hard to quite hard to see how it all develops, but if you make it on flat and you just fold the paper, then straight away it makes sense. Use the same method. I've just basically chopped off this part, but the drafting method is exactly the same. And the last one, which is contemporary, I think it might be it's a New York designer. It might be either Oscar de la Renta or Jason Wu, or it might be somebody completely different, but that's what I thought it was. But I can't find it anymore. This is what's really nice about this. Is like a typical strappy, beautiful dress. They've used like a lace, and then they've left the edge of the lace around the neckline, then they've put a bra, it's the sort of bra construction in. But it's all really tiny lace, and then it's held together with a really chunky leather belt, and then it's got a really big lacy skirt, which is all gathered in. And then again the back, I think the back looks like this again, so strappy again, and then the back just looks like that. But because it's lace, it's really dramatic, and it's navy, so you can't see it properly. Well, that's nice. But what you can see is here, what's really nice, you can see the back bit, the big bit, is just pure lace, and then they've only lined this part, and then it's got a slip, and then what I imagine, it's either got a seam here, which would make it more controlled. If you had a seam where the belt is, then you could actually put all your gathers in and make it really fitted, and it fit better. Or it actually, the whole front could be, if that's your bra top, the whole front could be like this as well. It will either work. I think for a style like that, they've probably cheated and they make it fitted, because it will be, if you make it like that, it's always going to move a bit. But if you make it with a normal dress construction, it will fit perfectly each time, and it won't suddenly, or gathers won't move to one side. But then the back again, they've made the top pleat. So this part again at the back is just made out of a lace, and when they use the same construction as on the 1970s one, where the top bit, basically you have a seam and extends to there, it's then all fitted, and then in that case, and I think in the chiffon case from the 1970s one, the cape itself is made just out of a top see-through fabric, and then the bottom, probably inside, you just have a slip. So this might be slightly more complicated because you've got a dress with a slip underneath, and at the back the slip sort of becomes separately. So to get into this one, I will imagine you actually lift up, because this is a lot bigger, the cape, it's fully pleated at the back. I will imagine again you lift up your cape, and then you might actually have a opening in there. Or, well, I actually know, thinking about it, I was just thinking how to get in. On this one, I would imagine it's got a side zip. So this is this case, I'm saying it's got a side zip because it's so fitted all over the way. So if you had it in the center back, you might still not be able to get in. And this is sort of dress where you want to step in. So it's either got a side zip, or if it has a back zip, it would then make it might have a hook and eye or something, because the whole back, you don't want it to, you want a really beautiful straight edge with just all the volume coming out. You don't want a zip on show, which is why I think if it's got a zip on the side seam, then the back is just underneath, is just stitched together with a fitted bodice. So it's exactly like this construction, only this time it probably looks something like, I would imagine your center front skirt is something like this, and then we've got our sort of fitted bra top at the top, then we've got our side bit, and of course you got all the pleats as well, our side seam, and then it goes all the way to the center back, and then it just becomes probably like this. So it will have some seams, because I think the whole thing is probably a full circle. But again, it basically pleats in and out, but then it has lots of gathers on top. And then I think I would put a zip in here, so you can get in and out quite easily. And then underneath it, it's just got, because this goes on top of it, but then it's also got a separate underskirt, which is just attached to the waist. So quite different techniques, or quite different outcomes, and some of them you can use exactly using Polynesian patterns, and once you want to start adding a bodice, you just need to chop off the bodice, but use the same method to create the pleats at the back. But this is a drafting analysis for the Robe Anglaise, or the Robe of Francaise. I hope you enjoyed it.